Welcome to today's session. Today is Unit 4 of Block 1, Introduction to Business Environment. The Unit 4 will study about business ethics, corporate social responsibility, and in between we will also study a little bit about corporate governance. So let's start. After this session, that is Unit 4, you should be able to define the concept of business ethics. We often talk about ethics, but what it means in the context of business, that we will come to understand. Then I will explain the need for business ethics, because business should make profit. What about ethics? But yes, ethics is required. After that, we'll define corporate social responsibility, but in between, we'll talk about a little bit of corporate governance. And from there, we'll come to corporate social responsibility, discuss the benefits and drivers of corporate social responsibility, and identify. And then, interestingly, we'll try to know some of the CSR initiative by Indian companies. So this is the what we are going to cover: business ethics, followed by a little bit of corporate governance, and then finally corporate social responsibility, which will be in completing the first module, that is Introduction to Business Environment. Now let's start. Profit and growth are essential for business, but it should take place, there's a grammatical mistake, it should take place in an ethical, just and inclusive manner is even more important. So you start a business which is ethical or unethical, it can be even for that matter, those who run underground activities, that's also a business for them. But here we don't talk about business like that. So it should be ethically done. It should be just, it should be inclusive in the sense, it should try to take a lot of people into confidence so that the benefit of this business passes on to all of the people. Second is, they must also ensure that conduct of business activities conform to the existing norms of accepted behavior and are run in a socially responsible manner. So the question is, existing norms of accepted behavior. Now you know that under the common social transaction, common social behavior, we expect that what you say you are supposed to do it, what you display, if you say that this product will benefit like this and other thing, there should be honesty in it. It should try to do this and run in a socially responsible manner. That means if the product fails to deliver that what it promises, then I should be responsible, or I should be replacing it, or I should be giving you back your money. Okay, so these are the things which are the activities conform should the socially acceptable norm. As you and me and our society may, we follow some of the accepted behavior. That if you say that I will be coming around that time, then you are supposed to come at that time. Suppose you are running a bus service, and you say that bus will reach at 3:30, and you never reach at 3:30. Now that's not an accepted condition. The same thing, you are running in a socially responsible manner. If you are committing something, you should be responsibility, you should be there, you should be accountable for that. This is not out of the context, but there are many cases when there are some damage has occurred to the car owner and other things. Then the car manufacturers has compensated them in a responsible manner, because they have taken the accountability. Yes, there was a fault with the car, not with the person who was driving the car, so he should be compensated for that. Now, as I was telling you, corporate governance plays an important role in the way business is directed and controlled. In the first part of this unit, we'll focus on significance of business ethics and corporate governance. In the second part, We'll learn about concepts and benefits of corporate social responsibility. And as I told you earlier, some of the CSR initiatives by the Indian companies mainly we will be focusing on. So let's go for business ethics and corporate governance. The term ethics comes from Greek word ethos. Ethos actually means the set of principles or values which we generally we have it or we develop it, and that governs my behavior or of individuals or organizations. What do I mean by that? I mean by that suppose you have a principle that you keep your time. Well, if you have told somebody that I will be reaching at that time, you try your best to reach at that time. If you have committed somebody that I will deliver this material to you, you make sure that material delivers to them. This is some sort of ethical principle you try to follow. I'm not going for the simple thing like such bolna, chori nahi karna, vagara vagara. Those are given social norms. But beside that, every individual has some ethical standards which are derived from the values he has inherited or he has cultivated or something like that. Now there is something comes morality versus ethics. Both are loosely have to do with distinguishing the difference between good and bad or right and wrong. Morally, the war which is going on now is wrong. And ethically, I do not know. There is no ethics in war, actually. So, but the morality and ethics loosely have to be distinguishing between the good and bad. So, he has good ethics when I say that means he carries some of the good values and good practices. Similarly, he is a man of good moral standard. That means he will not do something which is not expected in a normal social setup. That is the subtle difference between moral and ethics. Moral principles, we often take these as the moral principles. Okay, but when it comes to ethics, you are an ethical person. The business ethics, according to William Shaw, now we'll come to the business ethics. I have discussed about the ethics and morality in our social life and individual case to case. Now let's come to the business ethics. According to William Shaw, business ethics deal with morality in business environment. It involves moral judgment based on understanding of the society. It extends beyond legal questions and involves goodness and badness of an act. I'll repeat it. Business ethics deals with morality in business environment. It involves moral judgment based on understanding of the society. It extends beyond legal questions and involves goodness and badness of an act. Now you can understand the people who are manufacturing uh, spice, okay, grounded spice. Now they can put a lot of things, like they put the papaya seeds into the paper, etc. And that is, and some of them are very harmful color they use. So it is bad for the society, bad for human being, but for the profit motive they will be doing it. So a product of 75 grams become 100 grams because he has mixed the colors which are very harmful in the long run for the human beings who are consuming it. So this is called the business has the morality is less in that business environment. They don't have any ethical standard. It involves moral judgment based on understanding of the society. So that means if you think that society expect that okay, if I buy this branded spices, then it will be pure, it will be good. But if that is the moral standard they have or ethical standard and they have established the brand in the market like that. But suppose somebody comes and start mixing their other products, colors which are harmful for you, then I will say they are not following the moral standards or ethical practice in the business. They are making profit, no doubt about it. But very unethically, they are making profit. So business must balance their desire to maximize profit without harming individuals or society. So this is a small example I am giving. There are many others like you see, you get bottled fruit drinks. Now there are colors. It is not necessarily the fruit pulp is there, but balances the color and other things. Now, if that color is of very bad quality or harmful quality, then it will be harming the individuals. And in some locality, if the people are consuming, that society will suffer in the long run. And we have plenty of examples in India, this type of things happening. So this is very important to understand. A business, we expect that it should run its business ethically and try to trade off between the profit. It should not be blind for its profit that at the cost of human being or the social harm, he will make profit. So this is the standard of business ethics. Now the question comes in, the difference between ethics and law. While law is obligatory, now as per the law, you have to make something as per this norms and etc. etc. And violation of that will call for penalty. But ethical standard will be based on human principles, right or wrong. Something can be legal but not ethical. So you can say that allowed government says ki you can pack 5%, there can be error. Because when you are packing some materials into like Ashirvad Atta, if you are packing, there is every pack may not contain precisely 5 kilo. There can be some plus or minus. But if you are doing the scale in such a way that it is always minus, then it is legally you are okay. But ethically, you are doing something wrong. You are cheating the customers. So, law is by force, by judiciary, by justice system. If you violate, you will be punished. But you can follow the law and still be unethical. That's the problem. So this is the business ethics. It is same thing, an extension of individual or social ethics, which we expect from the business, because business is also, yesterday we have, earlier you have said is a social being. Nowadays is accepted as a social partner. So they also should behave in the similar way. They should not throw a lot of poisonous gases in the air, which in the long term will create lungs problem. Okay, so this is not only ethically, this is legally also not done. But legal, they can bypass in some way or other by installing a machine, another thing, which may not be functioning properly. This is where the business ethics, business profit, and following the law, there are the thin lines. Now, sources of ethics. कहाँ से ethics आता है हम लोग का? Now, generally, it is imbibed. Cooperation, selflessness stand centric to the central ethical system. It has been witnessed to be carried from one generation to another. Generally, हमारा parents, हमारा dadu, grandfather, and other things, they follow some principles and other things, and we imbibe them. Some we pick up from the schools, because if your headmaster, your teacher, they teach you some ethical behavior, some moral values. In fact, there are classes on ethics and moral in the classes, so that you develop those principles. You become a man of character and principle. So this is what is, first is, it is imbibed by birth, from your family background, from your social background, and social way. Initially your school is also involved, and you learn from your parents and society. Second comes religion. Now in many faith, the clerics or the pujari, pandit, they give you advice what type of life you should lead, what type of moral standard you should follow, what should be restricted, what should you can do. So from there also you pick up some habits, some of the values, some of the practices, some of the ethical standards. which are acceptable based on that religion in the society. So this belief or faith in the religion which makes people comply with the imposed restriction to accept any unsolicited behavior in the society. So I will not go something which is open platform, not to be discussed, but you can see from your religion, from Sikh, from Muslim, from Hindu, from Christian, or a lot of gurus are there, and they give some sermons, some moral teachings and other things, and you are supposed to you grow with that, and then you try to follow that. So that's another source of ethics, culture. Now, the society you have born and brought up, they have some customs, some social norms, some traditions, some standards, and you grow in that. So, if you are growing in Goa, you will have a different type of cultural upbringing. But if you are growing in Jammu and Kashmir, you will have a different type of upbringing. If you are growing up in a village in Tamil Nadu, you will be having different type of cultural upbringing. If you are growing up in Bengal or Bihar, in a village or other things, you will have a different type of upbringing. So these are from the beginning, from your birth, and then as you grow up, these social contexts are ingrained into your system. So your ethical standard is now based on those cultures, those social norms, those traditions and standards. Then comes the philosophical. It comes a little later generally. When you start learning and try to grasp the things, then you come across reading a lot of experience and teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, Subhash Chandra Bose, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Bhagat Singh, Swami Dayanand Saraswati. They have different philosophical perspective. You like some and you try to ingrain that in your system. If you read Swami Vivekananda, you will be trying to follow his teachings, his sermons, and other things. If you are a follower of Swami Dayananda Saraswati, you will try to follow his way. But ultimately, if you see the bottom line, the basic teachings are not very dissimilar. So, this philosophical system also comes to you as you grow. So you have picked up something in the early stage in your birth from your family, from the society you were mixing around at your early age. Then you grow up, you mix with a lot of people, you come to know about these philosophers or religious leaders or political leaders or man of moral standard. And then you learn a lot from them and you want to have those ingrained into your system. So that is called physical systems. Another source of ethics comes in. Now, legal system is basically क्या होता है? Law represents a rough approximations of society's ethical standard. Now, law will definitely say you tell a lie. So, law itself takes from the society what are the practice and what are the norms, what are the culture society practices, and tries to bind it into the legal system. Of course, there are some bad or unwanted practices and the thing; those are filtered out, and then the essence of that is taken into jurisprudence. So that way, sometimes law also puts you some ethical standard. So here, law versus ethics नहीं होता है. Here, law and ethics is in the same platform. Finally, the code of conduct. Society plays a crucial role in framing code of conduct or ethics. Now, you cannot go, if you are a man, you cannot go and touch a woman. So that is social construct. You generally take a permission or something like that. And generally, you do not touch and you have a talk and discussion. Like you go and you can touch a friend in your shoulder or start a discussion, talking. You will not do with a lady because society does not, framework does not allow that. To further enhance them, the company formulates. So that is why the company or business also formulates some protocols how you should behave with the different genders, what are the norms you should be following, so that by default becomes the ethical or moral standard of that corporate. Okay, so these are the six sources from where you can get some ethical or moral standards which you are supposed to follow. Some comes automatic to you because of your birth, your family background, your social background, your schooling, your religious background, your socio-cultural background, your philosophical feelings, your studies about great human beings, some by law, and then some, of course, by the social conducts, which is a social framework of societal laws and not laws, I should say, practice. Okay, there are many places we have the practice of when you see old elderly persons, we do pranam. Okay, so this is a accepted Indian practice, social conduct. Now, if somebody does and somebody does not, it is his ethical standard or moral standard. But this is a socially accepted practice. So this is how you should try to understand what are the sources of ethics and what are the moral things and what are the ethical things. No law says that you do pranam to this gentleman. But your upbringing, your ethical standard, your moral standard say, no, he is an elderly person. Let me bow to him. Okay? So, importance of business ethics. Let us understand why does corporate ethics matters to the business. Ethics matter because ethical conduct is the right conduct. It basically because we know we take the good and make it ethics, or ethical standards and good standards. So a corporate should follow good standards. Business avoid many risks and gain reputation by acting in ethical manner. There are some companies name I have mentioned here. WorldCom, this is World Communication Company. Enron was a power company. Lehman Brothers. They always, and at home, or Satyam Computers, which is now Take Mahindra has taken over, they were telling lies. I mean, they were not showing the honest statements of accounts and other things, are all the time telling we are making a lot of profit, business is growing, and etc. And then that is riding the tiger. Then after some time, Satyam, in case of Satyam, the founder Raju has to admit that no, we are giving you wrong statement and other things. And he was in jail, and then later on he was released, of course, after serving his punishment term. So there are special reasons why ethics are important to business. To understand reasons behind increasing influence of corporates in society. Now, corporates are influencing the society. So if Tatas have bad behavior, that creates a bad impression about Tatas in the society. And that can have a bad implications on Tata's products, Tata companies, where people joining, etc., etc. To ensure that no harm is done to the society, to meet ethical expectations more effectively, to enable companies to identify employee and customer concerns at an early stage. What do I mean by that? So identify the employee who is ethically good or who is ethically bad, and then try to correct them who is ethically bad, and try to you try to what I call it, you try to make him understand why ethical standards should be followed, and customer concern because of your unethical things and other things that should be handled at the early stage. Otherwise, it blows up and then it becomes a more difficult thing to handle. To improve the quality of firm's relationship with its key stakeholders. So if you are ethics, that means if you are transparent, you are morally good, then also it becomes easier for you to deal with your stakeholders, your suppliers. They will trust your word. Your stakeholders, they will know that you could not make profit this year because of these problems, so on and so forth. The government is interested in ensuring ethical business practices to ensure basic level of integrity in the marketplace. Unethical behavior imposes cost on government and taxpayers. Now, here I'll come back to Satyam's behavior. Now, if everybody behaves in an integrated manner, it is easier for government, because that means if you go to Switzerland and other places, it is said that their companies are very ethically good. So then means it's a ease of doing business there. But if everybody has to be very concerned about what company can do, yes, a company is not a very ethical company or something, most of the companies, then it is very difficult for government to promote industrial relations and other things. Plus, like Sattam ka baad mein, there was a series of effects in the stock market and other things. A lot of people lost money, and government has to impose some rules and regulations, etc. These are costs to the government. If everybody runs ethically and morally, then all those hazards are avoided. Business ethics can provide us with the ability to assess benefits and problems associated with different ways of managing ethics in organization. Equips us with knowledge that goes beyond traditional boundaries of business studies. So this is not an MBA program only. These ethics and other things will come automatically to the people of professionals, and business will follow it by defining the culture. Jamshed Chatterjee did not do an MBA but he has allowed to build up one of the most ethically strong organization, that is Tata Group. Okay, Hindustan Lever is also same. Infosys is also same. Now, ethical issues in business are, as I told you, all the time business owners are trying to strike a balance between profit and ethics. Now, if I make something, suppose I am making a paint, or for that matter, I am making cement. I can put very, very fine sand a lot or dust a lot. But that cement से जो building बनेगा, that will last very less. I will make very quick profit. So, the businessman's job here to be ethically sound so that he can come out of the wealth motive or profit motive, and he should think on overall benefit of stakeholders and shareholders. So in the long run, he will grow well. The organizations practice ethics as it bolsters their goodwill, reputation of being fair, honest, and integral. A lot of products. Johnson baby lotion. I mean, most of the mothers, they will prefer, first choice is to use Johnson products for their babies, because that is the goodwill they have created in the marketplace. Same thing with Cerelac. Okay, though our grandfather or grandmother, they have a lot of homemade food for kids and children, but today's mother will definitely go for those things because the goodwill and the publicity, etc., etc. They are, of course, they fair, honest, and if something goes wrong, they are punished very badly. Expect the employees at all levels carry this legacy of identity with utmost care. This is Tata's. Once you join Tata's, you have to follow the Tata ethical norms, and you are bound to follow those ethical norms of Tata's, and slowly, similarly with Infosys, so that there is a coherent employee expectations from employees with the customers. Right? The advantage of being ethical here, we corporate goodwill enables bargaining power preferred by prospective employees, creation of quality talent pool. What happens is that if you are an ethical, good organization, you become the first choice of a lot of employees, probable employees. And attrition, people do not like to leave because they know after the end of the day they are ethical and they do give what I deserve or what they promise. Corporate goodwill enables bargaining power in cost reduction, increase in production, achieving economics of scale, more revenue and profit, longer business viability. Why all these things? Because I like to deal with a good person. So when I like to deal with a good person whose moral standards are good, etc., I don't mind to cut a little bit of cost. So that is why cost reduction comes in. So employees are motivated, so production increases. Like a revenue scale. Ultimately, if cost comes down, revenue goes up, your profit automatically goes up. Now I come to corporate governance and social responsibility. Now, corporate governance is to influence the corporate path to sustainable development following approaches advocate. First, we learn about a little bit of sustainability. It's in the reverse order: corporate sustainability and corporate governance. To influence the corporate path to sustainable development, following approaches. These are late 90s. Actually, after the globalizations and other things came in, and we were using natural resources like no man's business, then some of the philosophy or economic thinker, climate economists, and other things, they realized and they tried to raise their voice, and then various guidelines, rules, etc., started being implemented. The triple bottom line approach: people, planet, profits. So people come first, then planet, then profit. So don't try to earn too much profit by burning the forest, because this forest is important for everybody's survival. Okay. And then you have a plant plantation so that overall forest does not reduce. So this triple bottom line concept was brought in not only with forest, with a lot of other things in 1995. United Nations Global Compact in 1999, they also tried to some guideline about sustainability. OECD, that is Organization of Economic and Cooperation and Development, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, they develop guidelines are addressed to MNCs, multinational corporations का लिए. Then International Standard Organization, they found the standards. Then Global Reporting Initiative, 1997. उसका बाद there was reporting 3, reporting 4, like that. These were guidelines for all organizations. And then in 2015, Sustainability Development Goal, Kofi Annan, World Bank में, he described the sustainable goals, and World Bank GRI Index 2020, there was an index. Index is generally like inflation rate is 9%. I can compare, if it grows, comes down. Fund 6 is an index. So we benchmark that, and then we measure how much we have achieved. So sustainable development goals, there are around 17 sustainable development goals. 2015 where World Bank has drawn out, and World Bank Sustainable Disclosure Index prepared with core option of the GRI standards. So GRI Global Reporting Initiative में जो standards draw down किया है, based on that World Bank also has prepared a sustainable disclosure index. So now what has happened? The triple bottom line approach, which originated from Elkington's Planet People Profit, that is environmental, social, and economic framework. Now you very quickly hear it: economic, social, and governance, the ESG framework. The Global Reporting Initiative enjoys strategic partnership with OECD, United Nations Environmental Program, and International Organization of Standardization. GRI has designed the world standard guideline in sustainability reporting on the following criteria: economic. So this is important. GRI is Global Reporting Initiative. There are 4 guidelines for the reporting: your economic activity, your environmental activity, your social activity, your governance activity. I repeat it: economic, social, governance, EESG. Economic, environment, social, governance is 4 metrics where you have to report, and then there is a standard and index, so we can know that which company is following these standards, which company is in the back following but not up to the mark, etc., etc., and overall which countries are also trying to achieve these sustainable development goals. G3 third generation GRI sustainability reporting guideline was launched. It was an impact study key after we implement those things, whether there was any impact in the climate change or environmental protection, etc. G4 reports on broader aspect of impact study, which include general standard disclosure on organization profile, stakeholder governance. So G4 was covering more items. What was the governance? What is the stakeholders say? What is the organization profile, etc. So two things you need to remember here: triple bottom line approach about people, planet, and profit. GRI is global reporting initiative based on four pillars: economic, environmental, social, and governance. And finally, the World Bank social development goals are there, and sustainability disclosure index is there. So if you are ready to study later on about sustainability finance, or sustainability management, you know to know these things in details. Now, why corporate governance is important? Corporate governance, as defined by OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, a set of relationship between company's management, its board, its shareholder, and stakeholders. Relationship between them. It provides a structure through which objectives of the company are set and means of attaining those objectives and monitoring performance are determined. So you want to manufacture aluminium, how you should be following, considering the social pollution, type of employee standard you will be maintaining, benefit for the employee, clean working space, etc. All these things are determined. Good corporate governance should provide proper incentive for the board and management to pursue objectives that are in the interest of the company and shareholder, and should facilitate effective monitoring, thereby encouraging firm to use resources more efficiently. So this is what the structure is: a set of relationship, company management, board, and shareholders and stakeholders. So if I talk about alumina, it starts from aluminium ore, bauxite says shuru karke alumina, okay, then it makes aluminium. There is a pollution, there is water pollution, there is air pollution. How you should be restricting those things. Employees, how you protect and give a good working place, so that if they're working in an environment which is little poisonous or harmful, how you take care of them. All these set standards are done, and then it is monitored. Okay. The purview of corporate governance include rights and equitable treatment of shareholders. All shareholders, minority or main, or large shareholder, that means suppose a big company has a shareholding and I have a shareholding in Reliance. For Reliance, we both are equal. We should be equally treated. Our rights and equal treatment, adhikar is there. We should be taking care of all stakeholders, other stakeholders. That means my supplier, the society around me, etc. Role and responsibility of the board. The board needs a range of skills and understanding to be able to deal with various business issues and to have the ability to review and challenge management performance. So board is quite distant from the management. CEO, chief operating officer, and managers are running the show. So board can question the management. Why it has been done like this? Why we have not taken care of the safety of the employees? Okay, why the overhead pulley has broken? Why maintenance was not done? Like this. So the board has that power to have to ask the question, the management. It needs to be sufficiently sized and have an appropriate level of commitment to fulfill responsibility and duties. So it should be of a particular size. Now Tata Steel ka board, if it has only 5 people, they cannot discharge their duties because it's a too big a company. So 5 aadmi kahan focus? Where they will focus? Similarly, Reliance Industries Limited. Now it is the largest company in India. If they have 7 people in the board, they do not know which side to look. So there is a proportionate size of the board should be there, and there should be a lot of 50% as of now. There should be independent directors who are nowhere linked with the Reliance, so that they can be more fair and they can give a free judgment. They don't have any obligation from company's owner or company's management. Integrity and ethical behavior. Organizations should develop a code of conduct for their directors, executives that promote ethical and responsible decision making. And finally, disclosure and transparency. Organizations should clarify the role of board and management, and the same should be conveyed to the public. What do you mean by that? So, an organization like a constitution, they will drafting a constitution, they should have clearly defined role of the board, role of the management, so there is no conflict. What is board's jurisdiction? Management should not enter there. What is management's jurisdiction? Board can question, but board should not take those decisions. There should also be implement procedure to independently verify, safeguard integrity of company's financial reporting. This is a very important thing. They should also implement procedures to independently verify and safeguard the integrity of companies' financial reporting. Because I, as a shareholders or other stakeholders, we are getting at the end of the year annual report. Now that it contains whatever happened during the whole year in the company. So that should be disclose everything, and that is responsibility of the board. Disclosure of financial matters concerning organization should be timely and balanced to ensure the all investor access clear information. So to sum it up, transparency is the best principle of corporate governance. If you have clearly laid down rights and equitable, what is the treatment the shareholder should be getting, what is the interest of the stakeholders to be looked after, what is the role and responsibility of the board, what is the integrity and ethical behavior expected from the board, from the top management, from the employees, what is what are to be disclosed, and what are the things we should be transparent to what level. If these are all transparent, then this company is well governed, because they have nothing to hide. Role of corporate governance is largely significant to the society and impacts various internal and external stakeholders. Let's quickly go through that. It fosters an efficient use of resources and cultural wastages. When you follow some standard of procedure, SOP, then generally your resource utilizations and wastage are less. It aims at resource allocation to those verticals for bringing in efficiencies in production of goods and services which further generates interest of the shareholders. So what's happening is that good governance means proper utilization of my resources. So if I am using my resources properly, then it will result in a better profit and shareholders will also be happy. It chooses best effective managers to manage scarce resources to derive optimal results. So senior management, generally board decides, board is in the, or some nominated member of the boards are in the selection committee. They try to pick up the most effective managers so that they can use the resources in the most optimal way. They can use the resources in the most optimal way. Then comes it enables the managers to remain attentive and focus on enhanced performance of the continuously. Once they know there is a good board and they are watching us, our activities and etc., all the employees and other things will also try to be very attentive and focused to enhance performance. And this all, when an outsider, as an investor, if I watch the way Tatas or Infosys or Mahindras or what's the company's name, Wipro, they follow their top management, how they are guiding their employees and other things. We are interested in those companies, so we try to invest because we know that in the long run, shareholder value will increase in these companies. Asian Paints, HDFC Bank, etc., etc. Same thing with the customers. If you are confident about ethical standard about what companies manufacturing practices, their streamlined activities, their very focused supply chain and etc., reliability of their products and other things, you will try to be their customer. First, you will try, and then perhaps you will become a lifetime customers. There are many people I know, they have purchased Samsung, somebody purchased LNG, and all their domestic appliances are from the same company because they are satisfied with their service level, their ethical standard, when what they have committed, they have delivered. Whenever you call, they come, etc., etc. It results in higher employee satisfaction, low turnover rate, lower HR cost. Now, why it is? Suppose you have a written down rules, regulations of how employees are to be treated, benefit, increment policy, etc. Then you know the boundary. So you are happy to play as per the boundary, and when the scorecard comes, you know why you are getting the promotion, why you are not getting the promotion. So that helps you to remain in the system. And similarly, marketing and etc. etc. Now we come to corporate social responsibility. Now, corporate social responsibility is a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concern in their business operation and interaction with their stakeholders. CSR, in short, in generally understood as being the way through which a company achieves a balance of economic, environment, and social imperative. We are talking about triple bottom line there. So you earn profit, give it to the shareholders also, give it to the society also something, and you also grow where society also likes you to grow. While at the same time addressing the expectations of shareholders and stakeholders. This is the UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, full form UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, their definition of corporate social responsibility. There are many people who have defined corporate social responsibility in different way. Like the next definition is from Bowen, who defines CSR as obligation of businessmen to pursue those policies, to make those decisions, or to follow those lines of actions which are desirable in terms of the objectives and values of our society. So look, here we again come back to the objectives and values of the society. So a businessman should be doing or should have policies which are in at par with the values and objective of the society, and we should follow those things. Corporate social responsibility, in its essence, fosters business accountability from the stakeholders, shareholders, and investor perspective, which may include factors such as environmental protection, care for employees, society, public at large. So, what happens is that you take the corporate social responsibility. Generally, you do within the periphery of your companies, wherever your plants and companies are there, or if your head office there nearby, you try to develop those places in different ways. The inclusions of CSR, now Companies Act 2013 comes and puts CSR into the legal framework. So far, CSR was volunteer. Much before CSR became a buzzword, Tatas was practicing, they were setting up their hospitals, they were setting up cancer hospital, they were setting up Tata Institute of Social Science, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which is now Bhabha Institute of Fundamental Research, and so on and so forth. So, Tata Institute of Science, which is now Indian Institute of Science, so in the field of education, higher education, research, people's good, that is Tata Cancer Hospital, Jamshedpur Mein Tata Hospital, all these things they were doing much before this CSR has come into play. So was in the south, these Sundaram families or others, Chola Mandalam, these groups, Murugappa groups, they were doing that. But in 2013's Companies Act comes and CSR comes as 2000 as clause 135 of the Companies Act, and they say that any company with an annual turnover of 1,000 crores or more, or a net worth of 500 crores, or a net profit of 5 crore should be involved in CSR activity, and there is a percentage out of profit after PAT they should be using it into the social activities, socially responsible things. Now, how does it move now? Law to bol diya. Now, how the things move, that is important here. Now, corporate social responsibility, they have told ki if you have such and such condition, then you should be doing your discharge your corporate social responsibility. The first thing the law says that you should have a corporate social responsibility committee, CSR committee. They will be responsible to formulate and recommend to the board what should be the CSR policy. That means what the activities the company should take over or take, like suppose I am Deloitte or KPMG and other thing, I am mostly in the cities. So what type of activities I can take? Maybe I can take educational development, I can take higher education research, or I can take some of the other things. Okay. But suppose I have set up a plant in a tribal area. My job activity may be development of the tribal area, bringing in sanitation, bringing in primary education, etc., etc. So this is to be formed by the committee and they will give it to the board. CSR committee में 3 member of the boards are there. उसमें से 1 should be independent director. 3 members from the board should be there in the CSR committee to recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred on the activities. So, as per the formula given by the law, there is an amount available for CSR activities. Committee will decide how much I will incur in what activity. So Deloitte, as I know, they have invested a lot of money in reviving rivers, which has bring in life and livelihood to a lot of people who were residing the villages beside the river. They have started fishing, making boats, cultivating because now the river can give water. They have taken up agricultural practices in a more aggressive way, or so on and so forth. And their job is also to monitor CSR policy implementation, whether the whole fund is utilized or not. If there is a surplus fund, there is a government guideline, what you have to do with the surplus fund, etc. Now, CSR as shareholders are not only invest in companies' business, they are also a social stakeholder. So they are also benefited by CSR activities. CSR and employees who are internal customers of the organizations, they have realized that for equal opportunity, fair wages, transparent appraisal system, employee recognitions, career growth, skill enhancement. So, a lot of skill enhancement programs are designed by the CSR activities so that they can upgrade their employees, etc. Or local people so that they can take them into the non-critical jobs. CSR and consumers, if a consumer know that you are doing a lot of social activities, so I buy a copy, classmate copy, every percentage of 1% of something goes to development of rural education. So that is a social norm. So you like to buy classmate copies or something like that. And CSR and community participation, here it's a very important role big corporates do. They have environment pollution control. They want to develop economically backward areas. They want to provide basic and primary education, women empowerment, and also development of small scale businesses which can supply to the basic things which the plant needs. Okay? Or community services. So these are the various things. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Advantage is that CSR activities contribute to local and regional development. There is slowly the local setup becomes more cleaner, more developed, etc., more educated. Regular supporting and conducive behavior enable the company earn a goodwill and rapport. So slowly the local society and company develops a very harmonious relationship. And also they teach them how to harvest the rainwater. They provide them the skill training so that they can go and work somewhere else. They take care of the basic health issues like polio vaccinations and etc. All these activities, which otherwise perhaps it is not possible for the government to do in that scale. There are social concerns which might be remained unaddressed by government, which may be resolved by the corporate intervention through CSR. That's what I was just talking. just when if there was a rain and there was a filthy water, and oh, there will be a stomach problem, bowel problem, so you give those medicines and clear this place. All these jobs are done, so the nearby society is healthy and good. CSR may promote business within the vicinity of companies. As I told you, the suppose I need some basic things which are required for the maintenance of the company and annex area, I can get it manufactured by them and buy them. Disadvantage of CSR is because basically this job is government's job. So why out of profit company has to do it? Shareholder loses that money that could have gone as a dividend or something like that. Then social work needs a different type of expertise. Corporate employees may or may not have that type of expertise. Same thing, time spent on social activities could have spent in the corporate growth. Since here is the added responsibility to business, the existing manpower needs to be trained, developed. So another vertical the company has to create, which is a cost center for the company. These are the disadvantage of CSR. Benefits of CSR, advantages are there and benefit. First is community provide license to operate. You get a legal license to operate. But if the local people, the tribal people or the local habitants are against it, it's very difficult to start. If you are aware of this, the Korean steel maker POSCO, they wanted to start a huge steel plant in Odisha, but could not do because the local people were not happy. They did not allow them to start the plant. So this social activity sometimes gives you the social license to operate. Attracting and retaining employees, good CSR industry can attract employees to the company and give them incentive to remain motivated and committed to the company. That we are not only profit motive, we are looking for society also. Now, this value is also carried by a lot of people. So they want to remain with those companies, even if they get a higher salary somewhere else. They know they are doing something socially beneficial. Communities to supply as suppliers. As I told you, they can manufacture certain things and supply to the company and etc. So there is a livelihood there grows up. And finally, the corporate reputation goes up. Today, you know that Infosys, Tata, Mahindra, etc., they have different type of reputation because of the corporate social responsibility they have done. Drivers of CRC, KPMG survey corporate reputation report says that there are various things, but to sum it up, I will give you five. One is public image. If you do a lot of CSR, your public image goes up. Government regulation. Before government imposes something, you start doing it. So government knows the corporate is taking that responsibility, so no need to bring in law there. Because the moment law comes, there is a lot of time goes behind that. Survival and growth. Like Amul Dairy has launched a novel program of rural sanitation. Now, if rural sanitation is not there, after some time cow disease will start and their milk productions will come down. So sometimes this also a reason for developing the society where you are operating. Employees are satisfied, like Lemon Tree Hotel, they treat all employees as similarly disabled or enabled. So disabled employees, they give all the benefits so that they can be productive member of the organizations or the society. Consumer awareness also a big thing. They will protect supply of inferior harmful goods, forming different groups, and this had obligatory for business to protect interests of consumers. So this is also consumer awareness. So these are drivers of CSR. CSR initiative of some of the Indian companies, Tata Chemicals, they through their trust, Tata Chemical Society for Rural Development, where their plants are, Mithapur in Gujarat, Haldia in West Bengal, Babrala in Uttar Pradesh, do lot of social activities in village, developing the villages, giving women empowerment, etc. Mahindra Limited, among the various development programs supporting Mahindra Nanni Kali is a very good program. They do it along with the Dr. Reddy's. They provide educational support to the underprivileged girls in India. Beside that, you have seen sometime railways ka Lifeline Express, hospital on train. That's also sponsored by Mahindra and Mahindra to provide medical care to the villages, including surgical intervention, because the whole operation theater moves in the train. Vedanta does a lot of corporate social responsibility. From Nandagar project is the flagship initiative which rebuilding Anganwadis to ensure in Odisha they are doing a lot of things where their minds are by skilling and empowering women and education and health for the children, etc. Then our public sector giant Indian Oil Corporation, who was spread over all over India, they are involved in various social projects for a long time in improving the quality of life of the marginalized and underprivileged sections of the society. The key thrust area of the company include safe drinking water and protection of water resources, healthcare and sanitation, education and employment enhancement, vocational skill, empowerment of women and socially economically backward groups. So you can see the CSR activity, they take up a lot of things which otherwise perhaps it's not possible for government to deliver last mile delivery. So you develop your nearby area and ultimately the big area the state develops, and if state develops then the country develops. That's how the companies also take good names. So final summary is business ethics, that's what we started with, discusses the extent of ethical and moral standard a business should follow. Okay, business has kept ramifications of natural environment protection, and also is a business responsibility and is the ethical and moral responsibility of the business. Then we came to the corporate environment. We touched upon corporate governance, which is very important because that brings in transparency, and a good governed company is an attractive investment opportunity for the investors and other stakeholders. An organization exhibiting higher standards of corporate governance becomes a benchmark for others. Infosys was the first company showed the highest form of corporate governance. Finally, corporate social responsibility has evolved from being a voluntary practice to regulatory mechanism. Section 135 of Companies Act. CSR helps in building brand image, attaining competitive advantage, facilitate long-term business interests, and ultimately developing the society where they are working. So with this, we come to an end of our first part, Introduction to Business Environment, and today's session. Thank you.